Alex is visiting Jamaica for the first time. She's headed to Port Antonio on the northeast of the island.
I've been to a lot of the other Caribbean islands, but there was something always in me that stopped me coming to Jamaica. I always knew that I had a strong family connection here. And already it's how I envisioned it, just the green, the life, the vibe of the island. I'm so glad that I waited for this moment.
Alex has come to Boundbrook Wharf in Port Antonio. To learn more about her great-grandfather Edward, she's meeting historian Dayla Bean.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm so excited to finally be here.
It's great to have you here. We're here at Boundbrook Wharf. Now, this wharf was built in the 1970s to help with the shipping of bananas and other produce to the United States and the rest of the world. But even before the wharf was built, there was a port here. Mm-hmm. So if you will look at the first document, which is the manifest. So this is a list of passengers to the United States.
So 1905.
Right.
Arriving at Port of Boston.
Yes. So this is the SS Admiral Dewey.
I'm seeing my great-granddad, Edward Scott.
Right.
And then married or single. And it says single there, no?
Yes, he was 22 at the time.
Okay.
Just a young man on an adventure.
Setting off to see the world.
Yes.
Calling or occupation. What does that say? Do?
Do. So that means ditto.
Oh, okay. Servant.
Right. So you know him as a sailor?
Yeah.
Yes. So this manifest, which is 1905, has him as a servant.
Servants to of the... I can't read that.
Right. That's J.H. Baker.
Okay.
So that's Joshua Hamlin Baker.
Ah, so he's a servant of him?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And the Bakers were very important to Portland. They were from the United States. It was actually quite a big deal for your great-grandfather to be a servant to Joshua. Joshua was the son of Lorenzo Baker, he didn't start the banana production in Jamaica, but he definitely was important to it becoming a cash crop and transporting bananas from Jamaica to the United States.
Wow.
And Lorenzo is the king of bananas.
The kingpin.
The kingpin of bananas at this time.
Dayla is taking Alex to visit one of the largest remaining banana farms on the island. At the start of the 20th century, when Alex's great-grandfather Edward Scott worked for the Baker family, bananas were the most valuable crop on the island. As Joshua Baker's servant, Edward would have found himself at the center of this profitable industry.
My great-granddad was a servant, Edward. So then what sort of things would he be doing?
He's never really noted as a laborer, so it's unlikely that he would have been packing or cutting the banana himself. Okay. He traveled from Jamaica to Boston on the ship. And not many working-class Black Jamaicans at that time got a chance to sail somewhere else.
When I read the document and you see servant, straight away my mind set goes to, oh, that's negative.
Obviously for Black Jamaicans, there were not a lot of opportunities then for social upward mobility, but being a servant to someone as wealthy and as powerful as the Baker family actually was quite positive for your great-grandfather.
So then how does he go from being a servant then to a sailor?
Well, that's what we're going to find out. If you take a look at the photograph that you have, you will see what a typical banana wharf would look like. The clothing being worn by the men in this photograph sort of signal perhaps how your great-grandfather would have looked.
Really?
Yes, because he was a servant for Joshua, and therefore he wouldn't have necessarily had on the typical working class type of outfits.
Looking all very smart.
Yes. So we have for you a list of times that your great-grandfather Edward shows up in records. And you can see he's turning up in lots of documents.
Yeah. With a lot of different occupations.
With a lot of different occupations,
well.
yes.
1905, servant, but then certificate of marriage. 1909, he then says he's an engineer. And then I can see in 1911, the birth certificate of John Scott, my granddad, he lists his occupation as a sailor. So he was a jack of all trades.
He was a jack of all trades. But I think more than that, it's that he was really ambitious. Even as a servant, he would have been exposed to a very wealthy lifestyle through the bakers. When he has some control over what he can put on a document, he will choose what aspect of his skill to highlight at that point.
I like it. It does make me smile because there's so many times people have been like, well, what are you, a pundit, a presenter, a footballer? And actually I'm like, well, yeah, I'm all of those. I'm also ambitious. So when I see this, then I'm just like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong, and it's in your blood.
It's in my blood.